The Joel Fernandez Show is a talk show channeled spontaneously from source to edify and help raise the vibrations of truthers, starseeds, Christic alchemists, and others who have seen through this illusionary matrix into messianic consciousness by discussing hidden knowledge, higher dimensions, and manifesting so that we can shine our light for everyone to see and co-create the earth that we know we actually deserve to live in. Don't! I gotta go! I'm working on the show!
Here we go!
It's a great salute. So friends, we're just here at the Remand Center. We're protesting the arrest of Pastor Art. They've kept him in solitary confinement. He only has 20 minutes every day to contact family and lawyers. And the rest of that time, he's being kept in literally the dirtiest cell ever. Here's a clip of his brother David talking about that.
I'm just gonna go quickly and go through what was happening. He said that he was treated horribly. It has nothing to do with justice or law. He was strip searched twice and searched for contraband. Can you believe this? Maybe for certain politicians. If you get my joke.
Yeah, we do.
It's unbelievable. He was forced to go to the bathroom with an officer watching. It's another one. It's a new one. I don't know what's going on there, but I know the cameras are right above the toilet. Where's the Privacy Act? Anything. And I saw female officers there watching the screens. It should be against the law. This is perversion. This is abomination. He's been locked in a small cage. What he described was a small cage where he said in Polish it was like a dog cage, small, just to put you there, and he was grasping for air after hours. He was fighting for air, and I know how that feels because they did that to me and Art when they arrested us. They put us in the back of the van, and he had just little tiny space with plexiglass. And after a couple of hours, you're really struggling to breathe. And it's a torture. He's been put on a hard bench. Whoever was in prison, it sucks. The hard bench sucks because after about an hour, a couple of hours, every bone hurts in your body. Same with the cement bench. It's unbearable. After a day, 2 days, we were 3 days, it was unbearable. Every part of your body aches, your muscles, your tendons, your back, your legs, your knees, everything, your head, your neck.
How about that moldy cheese sandwich?
But you know, the crazy... Yeah. It was all without water to drink. All of this is against Geneva Convention. This is against human rights. For 2 days, he didn't have access to drinking water. Overall, it was 2 days.
This is Canada?
No, this is not, ladies and gentlemen, Canada anymore. Don't kid yourself. This is not Canada anymore.
No, that's right.
When they took him back finally to his cell, his whole cell was upside down. They were looking for contraband. I mean, rules are rules, right? It's not like they arrested a member of Cosa Nostra or a Mara Salvatrucha or La Raza or the Polish-Russian mafia. They arrested a father, they've arrested a pastor, a husband, a brother, and a friend to so many. A law-abiding citizen that has so much love for people in this nation that for almost 2 decades he's willing to put his neck on a line.
Amen. Yeah.
Because he understands the scriptures, love thy neighbor.
Yeah, you can see they've got them posted around the perimeter here. I mean, no big shocker, right? And of course they've got this whole area fenced off because, God forbid, peaceful protesters bring their peacefulness to speak against injustice, but that's what we're dealing with here. Lest we forget, yeah, it looks like a lot of people already have, but not us. Not the solidarity people. And as you can see here, we've got all these cars and trucks and vans and jeeps. We've got our own little convoy right here, right in Calgary Northwest. Seriously an injustice, folks. But I don't need to tell you that. I like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's day 5 of Pastor Art's imprisonment. He's awaiting his bail hearing. They don't want to let him out. The judge and the Crown seem hell-bent on keeping him in the prison for unjust reasons, not for actual crimes or anything like that. They're alleging that he is responsible for the Quds blockade, that he incited violence, that he did all this stuff, which is a blatant lie. They're lying. This is a vendetta. He embarrassed them on a global scale. He has shown how to resist peacefully, and they're angry. So this is a vendetta. They want to get revenge on him by hurting him, by keeping him in prison. They know these charges won't stick, so they know the only way that they can keep him inside is to keep him there without bail. So they're making stories up. This is unjust. This is inhumane. No pastor in a free and democratic society should be treated this way. And the people are starting to see this. We've been protesting here every day for 5 days. At first they did a little blockade on day 2, then they did a bigger perimeter blockade on day 3. On day 4 they did it even bigger, and now they've blocked off the entire parking lot, leaving us this little sliver of parking lot, and we're spilling onto the road, as you can see. They're scared of us for why? I don't know. We're peaceful. We don't go onto their property. We're just here to peacefully show our discontent that what they're doing is wrong. And they can't even have us doing that. They're not letting us practice our right to peaceful assemble. And this is insane, because this is a government building funded by tax-paying dollars. They can't do this to us. So we have a convoy coming here. We have more protesters showing up. And hopefully we can stir up this entire prison and show the world that what is going on to Pastor Art, my dad, is wrong. It is unjust. It has nothing to do with health, nothing to do with law, nothing to do with safety. This is a war on Christianity, on the truth, and on Canadians.
So that's my brother Nathaniel talking about, the unjust arrest of his father, and just how threatened these tyrants are right now, because he just said hold the line. It would have been different if he said advance or start taking back territory. He just said hold the line. Just look at all of these vehicles. All come in support for Pastor Arthur. And you can hear them chanting. We have a little visitor just circling overhead, you know. And of course the honking never stops. You know, if it ain't the Rams horns, it's the truck horns. This is the remand center where they apparently reprimand people speaking the truth, people speaking out for freedom, and of course, the attack on Christianity. I mean, like, look at all these vehicles, folks. Like, seriously, and the convoy isn't even here yet. There's no place to park. People are parking on the street. Like, I mean, it is definitely gonna get interesting today. I don't even know how long I'm gonna stay, so we don't know how much footage I'll get, but I'm gonna edit this and put this up when I get home. And yeah, just keep posting, just keep sharing. That's what it's all about, shining that light.
Side by side, and we'll guard each man's dignity and save each man's pride. They will know we are Christians by our love, by our love. They will know we are Christians by our love, by our love, by our love. They will know we are Christians by our love, by our love, by our love. They will know we are Christians by our love.
So we're starting to see some of the cars come down from the convoy, from the Freedom Rally. I'm gonna put some footage of that in here.
Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for
like how many people are turning out. And you gotta wonder, like, what's the point of fighting for all of this? Well, the truth is we're fighting for freedom. We're fighting against injustice. And this is an injustice that, you know, why are they executing warrants without even telling the lawyers about it? Why are they going through lengths to basically cancel Visitation Day this Saturday here at the Remand Center just because of one man and because of his boldness, because he's a lion and he's fighting for us. And we're all lions, part of this army. That's what the Cave of Adullam is all about. It's where David gathered his mighty men and they all got together. Everybody that was distraught, in debt, despondent, and they all got together and they took back their territory. That's where his family came and met him, and boom, the tables turned. And the only reason why they're going through such measures now is because they're threatened to such an extent that they know the tables are against them. You can hear sounding the shofar, standing for justice, standing for truth and liberty, because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. There come cars from the convoy. They're starting to show up. They're already here.
Oh my gosh, it looks like Kia. We walk with them. He's stuck there.
Well, I'm gonna have to record this video because it's already been a week since the last vigil, and honestly, it's just been so busy I haven't even had time to edit that video. But this is the nature of manifesting. This is really what I want to get across here, is like, we've manifested a transition into a new way of doing things. This is already underway, and what we're seeing is the dissolving of the old world. that kind of paradigm has to be removed from our consciousness. And actually, it has to be removed from the collective in order for the collective to actually achieve anything beyond that. You know, it's kind of like when we're looking at, for an example, you know, in the scriptures, we're looking at the Exodus from Egypt into the promised land. You know, that whole generation that was raised in servitude had to be purged. You know, it sounds harsh, but it's just like, how could they manifest anything outside of those barriers that they've been programmed with, right? And the same goes for us today. How are we going to manifest anything beyond the barriers that we have been programmed with? It's not an easy task. And like, when we're manifesting potentials, like, how can we even imagine anything outside of what we've been programmed with, right? A lot of the times we have that guilt. We have that anxiety saying, I shouldn't want this kind of manifestation because it's too big, or because it's selfish, or because it's material. And, you know, there is a fine line between discerning what is material and what is needed for your destiny, and, you know, just getting involved and overwhelmed in a hedonistic kind of lifestyle and really forsaking any kind of forward motion into your destiny. There's a contradiction there, but it's not really a contradiction when you realize that how you use the material world is the line that divides the material from those that are actually integrating what this world is on a spiritual level. Are you using that deeper application of what this world has to offer to advance yourself characteristically, spiritually? You know, because that development that we make to our own personal character is what we take with us. But no, we can't take a suitcase of gold with us. You know, it's like that joke, the rich man dies and the angel comes to get him, and he's like, man, I gotta take something with me, I'm a really rich guy. And the angel's like, we don't allow that. The guy's like, please. The angel's like, fine, I'll let you take it, but can't guarantee you'll get it past the gates. Guy packs his suitcase, goes up to heaven. St. Peter's at the gates. What's in the suitcase? He's like, well, it's just some personal belongings I felt I would need. You know, Peter's like, open the suitcase, buddy. Let's see what's in it. So he opens it up, and Peter just looks and is like, why'd you bring pavement? You know, the guy brought gold bricks, but Peter's just like, man, that's pavement up here. So yeah, we're not here to gain materialism, to hoard onto it and to get it. We're here to realize how awareness manifests the material world into conforming to that projection of, you know, awareness, intention, imagination. Your imaginal acts become experiential facts. And if you're imagining something and you're full of doubt and unbelief and guilt and all these other kind of baggages that are programmed into us, well, that is actually your intention. That is what you're setting forth, right? You're setting forth these kind of inner conflicting views that I want this, but I shouldn't have it. Well, if you put that out, what are you going to manifest? You're going to manifest wanting this, but not having it. And that is an even tighter place to be in, because you know what you want, you know what you've manifested, but guess what? It ain't coming. And why isn't it coming? Because you're the only one standing in your way saying, I can't get this. A lot of times we manifest things, or we set the intention to manifest, I should say, and it comes to us. You know, it comes all the way to our doorstep. But what do we do with it? We still have that guilt. We still have that inner kind of, I'm not going to call it a conviction, but it's just this inner kind of dissonance with the intention that we want, dissonance with our destiny that's not in harmony. And we just sabotage ourselves, right? You know, not to give like personal examples here, but this is like a really good one. Like sometimes you'll just round the corner and someone will be right there that you've been trying to connect with for, you know, ages, and you botch it. Something just botches the whole kind of episode, and you're like, man, if that event didn't happen, I'd have been better off.
But then when you manifest with the state of living in the end, as if the state's fulfilled, as if there's no guilt, you know, just for that moment, you're in that space and you're like, yeah, I've achieved what I'm looking for. It's right here. And then you go out the next day. All of a sudden, you know, people just meet up with you. And like today, someone just blessed me with a keyboard. Just out of the blue. I didn't ask for it. I didn't say I needed one. I didn't say anything. Just like that, I got a keyboard. What can I say, right? And this is the way it works. This is the way it was with my music too. Like, who'd have thought, like, oh, write 30 compositions for 30 days, and by the end of that, like, that 30 days hasn't even been finished, but I've already noticed how my mind is putting together these pieces. The music is flowing just out of me. If I try and analyze and I'm like, okay, I got this tune and now I'm going to harmonize it this way, and we're going to put this kind of rhythm in, and we're going to put this kind of piano style or whatever, you know, the effects of the music, it's going to get louder here and it's going to be in a different key here. If I do that all that way, like, sure, something will come out and it will be decent. But when I just let the music flow from my heart and I write that down, and as it's coming out, I put the dynamics in and I apply different piano techniques or whatever it is, right? It ended up being piano music, but they're just pieces. They're just pieces written in the classical style. Romantic, post-romantic, you know, not like technically classical, but a lot, like mostly classical based. Enough music theory. What I'm saying is that you guys have the same potential that I do. And just manifesting will bring these events to you. You don't have to strive, because all of a sudden one day you'll be there at your computer and you'll be like, guys, maybe I should edit a video, but you're already doing other stuff that's taking you to new levels. Like, I haven't forgotten about you guys, but honestly, you know, life goes on. Life goes on. Like, honestly, how many of you guys really miss my videos? If you do, leave a comment, because I'm going to be getting back into reasoning sessions. There's honestly been a bunch of messages coming through, especially now with the convoys and just these scriptural references that I need to address. But, you know, it's just like the message is Source's message. And I share what I need to share. But at the end of the day, you know, I might get a message for myself and I'll be like, oh yeah, this is a really good message to share. And that doesn't line up. You know, sharing it doesn't line up because it's just not something that needs to be shared. And, you know, like right now we're looking at that, times and seasons. You know, it says in Ecclesiastes 3, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. So it's like everything has this place in time, and if we don't do a good job in a certain area, other things will have to unfold in order for that full potential to be revealed. You know, like starting out this show, we talked about the Remand Center, how Pastor Art is being held there completely unjustly. They don't care for any rule of law. They're doing this. He is a prisoner of war. They're not using any kind of legal means to incarcerate him. They don't have any fair trial, and they're lumping everything that people are doing peacefully as mischief, because, you know, that's just a blanket statement. It's like when you were a child, right? Adults would say, well, they're up to mischief, they're up to no good. Well, that's a pretty broad term, and you got to be careful when adults use that term, mischief, for those of us that haven't grown up, by the way. But you see, yeah, he was like basically tortured. They stuffed him in literally like a kennel, but with, you know, the plexiglass, so he was literally suffocating. He couldn't breathe, and he was only out for an hour a day. Like, you got to think about that. And he's only allowed to make calls 20 minutes out of that. Like, what is going on here? So yeah, people call it a hunger strike, but I believe that he's really going with his heart, because when you're fasting, you know, you don't just decide like, oh, I'm just not going to eat for 3 to 7 to whatever days. It's inner. that inner decision just guides you, and you're like, nope, nope, nope. And that happened to me. I did a 3-day fast, nothing but water, and it was torture for me, because one of those days my parents were like, hey, we're going to Aunt and Uncle's place and we're going to have a huge dinner and Bible study and all of this stuff. And I'm like, really? Really? Of all days? And that was the second day of my water fast. And you know, the second day is almost the hardest, because all those toxins that are detoxing just hit the system. The whole time you're fasting, you're literally detoxing, but that peak that happens at the beginning when the body's just like, yeah, let's clean up. It was rough that evening, and my parents like to sit at their place for quite a while, so we were there for like, I think, almost 10 hours. And I'm like, guys, I enjoy the company, but when I'm in this state, I can't really integrate, right? So I was basically doing some meditation and just kind of keeping the company, but also like doing inner work at the same time. But the next day, man, I literally, like, I wrote the one piece for the day, the music piece, but then I wrote 2 other pieces, totally unrelated. This is something else. And it just flowed out of me. And on top of that, I have ideas for new directions that I honestly want to take this channel in new directions, but without having the amount of time to dedicate to editing such long videos and even reasoning sessions, guys. Like a 5-10 minute video, I'd spend a good 2 hours editing, you know? I'd spend a good time editing, getting all the verses nice and graphics, and sometimes interspersing it with nice little clips to, you know, just add some humor. But all of that was preparation for what's now developing. So it ultimately feels like I'm giving birth to something, guys. And this 30-day thing, yeah, that's going to be amazing. I don't know if I can share it in its entirety on this show, but what we're preparing for in this time is honestly just laying the groundwork for future levels. Pastor Art, the same thing. He's fasting. Now it's like day 12, you know, and the Spirit's just moving through him. He's plowing through this time. Like, we're thinking, man, he's sleeping on concrete. Give him strength, give him courage, you know, just send peace on him. And people are praying over him, all this kind of stuff. And obviously those prayers are effective. And because of all of this awareness that is surrounding him and his own inner heart, and ultimately it's because of that mind of Christ that's in him. He has the power right now, and he's just plowing through, and they're honestly nervous about him, but they better be nervous about themselves, because this is a last-ditch, desperate attempt by a falling house of cards. Everything that's been going on in Ottawa, last-ditch attempt. And guys, there might be a showdown. In fact, there is very likely to be a showdown, but what I said last year, what I've been saying all along, still stands. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. We are victorious. Truth prevails. Light overcomes darkness. Bottom line. Bottom line. And this is the crux of it. We are seeing it. If people changed anything in Parliament, it wouldn't be a miracle. It wouldn't be something that, oh, all of this corruption was exposed because a bunch of truckers stood up. The truckers gave us hope. The truckers, you know, caused a little bit of momentum to be added behind people's butts to actually say, you know what, we can take a stand. We can move forward. But I believe that complacency doesn't help. And when there's trouble, people are like, whoa, we better move. And what's advanced now, what started advancing now, once the House of Cards falls, guys, this paradigm is accelerating. There is no other potential out there for us to achieve than our fullest potential. Either that, or we have nothing, right? We have nothing. Who are we to be controlled? Who are we to be manipulated? Living in fear, scared of, you know, even leaving our houses? This is not who we are here to be. And this is not who we are. It's not just who we're here to be, it's who we are. Who are we? We are sovereign. We are the government, we the people. Unfortunately, this bankrupt corporation has tried to usurp our minds, taking the control from our minds by convincing us that they are the government. Back in the day, in the Old West, you know, if two people decided to have a shootout in the street, they would do it. And the sheriff would be standing there and he couldn't do anything. He couldn't do anything because they were sovereign and they knew it. That's what Lewis Carroll was trying to tell us. That's what the Wizard of Oz, you know. People nowadays, like, they read that kind of stuff. It's like reading the scriptures, you know. You're reading parables and people are like, wow, these are really nice stories, allegories. Okay, what do they mean? I don't know what they mean, but they're nice allegories. Okay, well, what do they mean? Well, I don't know, you know. They're all mysterious and this thing means this, but I don't know what it means. Well, if you don't know what it means, how can you say they're allegories, right? That's the problem with a lot of people explaining away the scriptures. Anyway, so they take a part of it, or they take terms out of the scriptures, totally ignoring the story or totally ignoring the process of how these things are discussed, and they make up their own kind of paradigm, like, oh, Christ is your cerebrospinal fluid. Anyway, if you've seen more stuff on my channel, you know I talk about that. I know a lot of stuff about that. And I know that that's a perversion. You know, it's the same way like how the Vatican took over Sunday and used everything of the Christ story to parallel it with solar worship. And now when people look at it, they say, oh yeah, Jesus is just a metaphor for the sun. Anyway, obviously these people don't know the living Christ. When they get to know the living Christ, they will really understand that power. And that's in the message. That's in the miracles. Greater works than these shall you do because I ascend to my Father. Like, who's out there raising the dead? Who's out there, you know, healing crippled hands? Blind eyes, deaf ears? I've seen this, okay? You know, I've seen this and I know where it happens. It doesn't happen out there in other circles. It happens in the real churches. The real churches, you know, not the Laodiceans. And this is why Pastor Art, this is why I stand with him 150, 200,000, whatever percentage, 100-fold. 100-fold is literally 2 to the power of 100. It doesn't mean 100 times. But this is why I stand with him, is because he's exposing the darkness, not just in the government, not just in our institutions, in our, you know, judiciary systems, in our education, in the churches. The churches are standing down. They need to be called out, and they are being called out. So this whole kind of idea, this whole concept of moving forward, we have to shed those old paradigms. We have to break past the system that has been holding us down, and we got to realize a new system. Everything that's holding us down. And I'm not going to be talking about sovereignty on this channel. I'm not going to be talking about any of that stuff because it's really involved. And in order to explain it, I literally need like to dedicate my whole message to that. But we're waking up, and these resources will be more and more available for others. Right now I'm doing an intensive, getting all my paperwork filed, re-signing, getting private plates, all of that stuff. But it's over. It's over. For those of us that are already on the other side of this page, we know how this ends because we're already seeing it. People ask prophets a lot of times, well, everybody's happy, why are you crying? And he says, well, I see what's coming. And then, you know, everybody's crying and he's there laughing, and they're like, what is wrong with you? Why are you laughing? And he's like, I see what's coming. But you know, it honestly is as easy as realizing who you're here to be. That's the bottom line. You know, we all want different material things. And a lot of times, like, you might want, you know, a house or a car. I say those basically. You might want a business. You might want relationships. You might want to live somewhere, travel somewhere, you know, eat a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way, you know, have certain skills and talents that you might not have right now or are not as developed as you want them to be. You know, all these potentials our potentials. And the biggest one I think a lot of people want is the money in the bank, you know, that peace of mind. But is the money in the bank what they want, or is that peace of mind what they want? Do you just want to be able to go out and buy whatever you need, right? Because if you had money in the bank, really, the next question is, what would you do with it? This is manifesting. You got to get down to the root. Because if you manifest one of the branches and the tree is sick, you know, that branch isn't going to last very long. You hear about people winning the lottery. What happens to them? They go crazy. They end up on drugs. They blow it all. They do whatever, snort it, drink it, whatever. And before they know it, a lot of them are in a worse state because they couldn't handle it in the first place. They didn't manifest that character that could invest that money or use that money to certain ends and benefits. So when we want a house, we got to ask ourselves, well, why do we want the house? Nothing wrong with wanting a house, but we got to get clear. And when we get to the bottom of it all, then that house will come eventually. That house will manifest because it's part of that bigger picture. But we got to get to the crux of it. We got to say, why do I want a house? Do I want the house so I can, you know, congregate with people, you know, have living space? Do I want to look good in front of my family or my friends? You know, we really got to ask those questions so that we manifest the right character to handle what we're manifesting. And, you know, this is like the music that I manifested. I didn't even intend music as much. Like, I love music. Yes, I did manifest it. But just like coming to Zerhain and the end of the year, you know, with the winter solstice, and then after that, of course, the Gregorian year. I'm like, man, I did a lot this year, talking about 2021, or the 9th year of Kumbha, depending which calendar you use, of course. And I said, there's so much potential that I have. Let me focus on manifesting that potential. So I didn't see music as an intention. I saw myself being who I'm here to be, manifesting that potential. The next thing you know, I picked up Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. I already knew the first two movements, and I'm like, well, third one's pretty fast, but I can do it. I can do it. And within 2 weeks, I had it memorized, and now I'm just picking up to speed, you know, just working up to speed, perfecting it. And writing music, like, I knew I could write music before, but now that I'm doing it like every day, it's like this potential has always been sitting here, and what have I been doing with it? Well, the enemy has covered it up because the enemy knows the power of musical language. Music is a language. We just don't know it. We're not familiar with it. We don't think of it as a language. Once you start thinking of it as a language, you realize just why it's being used in our modern day to communicate such things as, you know, the top 40 or whatever. You know? Now, I'm not saying we got to go back to like writing hymns and such, but there's a certain harmonics and certain frequencies and certain rhythms and certain patterns and certain melodic intervals, and all of that plays a part in conveying messages that cannot be put in words. They simply can't be put in words. And what's being expressed in music, you know, it's like this Moonlight Sonata. It's like I learned more about Beethoven's personal inner struggle as he's losing his hearing, just learning this piece. And he wrote it as he was losing his hearing. And you can hear the frustration, but people say, oh, he was like so angry. And yeah, he was kind of temperamental. But this third movement is literally a prayer from his soul. And you can hear it in some passages. Like he's just so frustrated, but he's just pleading with Source. Like, whether he was Lutheran or whatever, I don't know, but everybody knows source. You know, everybody has that inner knowingness of that which is the cause of all things, the source of all things. Whether they admit it or not, whether they run from it or not, you know, with the ego. The ego likes to run from it and say, well, this physical world is all that there is, and we've got it all figured out. You know, the ego likes to run from it and say, well, you know, I got it all figured out. This physical world is all that there is. And of course, that's our programming, right? So we say, well, what's the point of chasing something that I can't verify? You know, but the very verification of that is the isness. And not only the isness, but the complexity of physicality. So we're dealing with something beyond our limited perspective. But when we tap into that, we realize that there's a process in letting go of the old so that we can achieve something better. We got to let go of what we've been holding on to so that we can grasp something greater. And it's a process, you know, we still have those like heartstrings, you know, that are still tied to that, but we got to cut those, and we might shed some tears when we do. You sow in the tears all night, but joy comes in the morning. So what we're doing now is we're sowing those seeds for the manifestations that will come. For me, guys, I'm already on the other side of this page. They're already here. They're already here. I hope you have already been sowing seeds so that your harvests are already coming. But when the house of cards falls, and it is falling, it like I'm witnessing it fall. I can see it fall. Just like that. You know, I can see this thing fall. But honestly, guys, the whole point of this thing is that we have the potential to actually see that new potential. As we let go, it's up to us to actually download those new potentials. When that house of cards falls, when those restraints that have been holding us back are falling off of our feet, those shackles, shake those shackles off, shake them off, shake them off. And when we do, that acceleration is really going to hit. So guys, I hope you're optimistic. I hope you're seeing this harvest in your life. I hope you've been actually putting the words I've been saying on these shows into practice, because there's enough potential of power in a single individual. You know, don't look to me. You. There's enough power in you to actually bring about the entire kingdom of heaven. Are you willing to step into that fullest potential?
We're not afraid. Terrors of night, arrows that fly by day. 10,000 may fall, but we will remain.
Free Pastor Art! 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 Enough is enough! It's time for solidarity! The people had enough! It's time for solidarity!
This shows the level of hatred and persecution. You know, they dropped the one charge because they realized it's not going to stick, so let's just exchange it with something else. I just want to say to anyone who's following the orders of Jason Kenney, that ship is sinking. I recommend you get off of it. Once he goes down, all of you will go down with him.
Yeah?
Every single judge, every single minister, every single chief of police, every single officer, every guard, every warden, every sheriff, all of you will be remembered and will be held accountable. That day will come.
Free Pastor Art! 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 We declare the victory of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ over this world.
We're in a spiritual battle according to Ephesians chapter 6. And God has been doing mighty things in prison. And then we blow the shofar, which is an ancient godly weapon of Israel. We blow it 7 times after our prayers are sent up to the Lord in heaven. And he receives the prayers as incense, as a sweet smelling incense. And as Christians, we don't realize how powerful our prayers are, and that God takes every single one of our prayers, even our frustrations and negative emotions, seriously. But if we humble ourselves and pray and seek the Lord, he will hear us from heaven. So that's what we're here for every night. I try to make it out as much as I can, but you know, I think it's my 4th or 5th time here, and I love it. And there's some patriots and brothers here and sisters that have been here for the past 30 days. 30 days straight. We praise the Lord. This is Arthur's 30-day here at the remand. He's innocent, just like Jesus. But they would rather free Barabbas than free a righteous man. But that's okay. The Lord is in control.
So there we have it, guys, our own convoy for Pastor Art. And you might wonder, like, why are so many people showing up? But the truth is, we're standing up against tyranny. We're fighting for justice because, you know, there's no justice in this criminal justice system except for the criminals, right? But guess what? Pastor Art has the most powerful force in the universe on his side, because whom the Son sets free is free indeed. There's no condemnation in Christ. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. And it doesn't end there. It says every tongue that rises against us in judgment, we condemn. That is including prosecutors and all his other accusations that are coming against him. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. Our heritage, we are joint heirs with Christ. You know, we are seated in heavenly places with him. And our righteousness is of the Lord. That's Christ's righteousness, which allows us to approach the throne of grace boldly and to ask for whatever we need. So stay strong. I know it might look like at times we're the only ones standing, but there's a lot of us. Trust me, there's a whole lot of us, and the evil people are so threatened by this. Like, you can tell they're threatened. They're running scared because they can see that their house of cards is falling. Really, in the end, God wins. So keep fighting the good fight of faith. Stay encouraged. Really feed your spirit, because when you spend time in the Word, that victory in Christ just downloads into your soul and it just starts manifesting through you. So I love you guys. I'll check you in a future video. Joel signing out once again. Shalom.